Hi, my name is Latanya Tillman. I'm a first year English teacher. I teach ninth grade students reading language arts. My students range from the age of 14 to 15. In this semester, I had the opportunity to work with a small group with two practicing teachers along with myself, and the rest are not in the field yet. So, during this process, I presented an artifact tracking sheet to my group. It outlines the instructional gaps and learning gaps. We labeled post assessment as an instructional gap because this assessment was taken in January. Students took the pre test in September, the post test was taken in January. To me, this was an instructional gap because as I taught my students from September through January, obviously something went wrong with the instructions or the teaching methods that I used because there was a large gap into their learning gap. The prominence of that gap was at the largest scale, and then its relative significance of this largest scale because it is very important for students to master their literacy and understand concepts to comprehend. Okay? Now, the student work was a learning gap only because the student work, this was something that they were tasked with throughout the school year. I believe it was a quick assignment, quick writing assignment, and it was a relative significance because it is dealing with literacy. It wasn't a big, large gap, but it was something to notice. The data table for the end of the quarter assessment, that was a learning gap. It was a little bit better than the post assessment. I believe their score was about a 47% average. We had more 100% than normal, but it was a relative significance because it was pretty important to master these skills. The lessons on multiculturalism was instructional gap. The relative significance was still pretty high, and the prominence was pretty low. The students did master this task, but there were some things that were documented in terms of all of the students mastering it. Okay, the SMART target goal that we came up with for myself during our meetings was for me to develop innovative ways to engage students by using more Web 2.0 tools and making the lessons more relatable, and also having students work in small groups to work on problem solving skills and teamwork. Okay, the pre-test, the average score was 38%. It was taken back in September. The post-test, students' average scores was a 42%, and that was taken in January. It was a 4% increase. I'm happy to hear that it was an increase, but I was pretty sad that it was just a 4% increase. My goal is to have my students at a 70%, 80% average. This is a snapshot of the post test. Here you see that it was 80 students that took the test, and the average score was a 42. Students struggle with determining the theme and the tone of the text. They also struggle with determining the meaning of words and being able to interpret figurative language and the author's word choices. Both of these Common Core standards, reading literature, ninth grade to 10th grade, 2 and 4. Okay, those were the two areas of weaknesses that were captured for this test. So my action data model, which is the action plan tracking sheet, it's a great method to incorporate the theme and also incorporate meaning and tone into their lesson plans and into their assignments so that we can definitely uncover their weaknesses and try to turn it into a plus. So the first assignment was a quarterly assignment. It is a literacy task that they will have to complete, and they will have different resources to complete an argumentative essay. Okay? Student completed essays will be the verifying artifact for that. This is done quarterly. There's a narrative they will have to be responsible for. This is a one-time narrative. And the unique thing about this narrative is that they are going to use a main character perspective in All American Boys, which is a novel for the novel study. They're supposed to incorporate The Sniper, which is a small short story with no characters. This story just has dialogue and a lot of narration. Their characters' names are not mentioned, but anyhow, in that short story, that's the same story that they took back in September, where their average literacy score was a 38%, on the pretest. So they're going to revisit the text from the pretext and try to correlate it with the novel that they're studying in class during this time frame. So All American Boys is a novel about police brutality. The Sniper is a short story about a sniper who's tasked with killing someone. He's definitely on a mission to kill someone. He's sitting on the rooftop, and then the mystery behind it is that he actually kills his brother. So from this perspective of Guzzo, Guzzo is the police officer's little brother. So we wanted to kind of incorporate this theme of someone experiencing police brutality, one of their friends experience it by their own brother. So anyhow, this is a correlation between that text. I kind of wanted the students to be creative and write their own narrative, mimicking the Sniper. Okay. Students completed narratives. 44 students completed the narrative out of 80 students. So this is a problem because some of them didn't even do the assignment. I definitely wanted to put that on here to make it clear that some students did not do the assignment. They understand that they can still pass the test, pass the class without completing assignments. They just won't get a 100. So with that being said, that was a one-time assignment. The other two assignments are weekly, the reading comprehension quizzes. This was a really good turnout. The average was about 80%. Again, this text is relatable. And then they will be responsible for group discussions with definite roles, speaker recorder, timekeeper, and data analyst. Okay, the verifying artifact for this assignment would be the completed sheets with all covered topics. The recorder is responsible for documenting everything that they listen from all the other groups speaking on behalf of that. So this was a great action plan tracking sheet to incorporate theme, comprehension, and literacy skills, as well as the meaning of words, okay? Because there's a lot of words that was mentioned in the Sniper. And because the kids had to revisit that text that they did not score well on, kind of bring that connection to the classroom. Implementation phase, the reflection from group weekly meetings prompted revisions, which was modeling the assignment and providing examples of the completed task. Things that really worked. Giving students options was a good turnout. They were able to take ownership in their work, and having a 3-step process of answering questions was a great turnout. My students struggled with elaborating at one point, and when I asked them a question, they would just answer. They would answer without textual evidence, without an actual explanation. So having a 3-step process, it caused them to think on an idea, expand by providing textual evidence, and then connecting it all together to make it all make sense. Okay, example of the options that I provided for my students is here. They were selected with 6 topics to choose from. They had to select 2 topics and provide a well-written response. They also had to be able to speak on this topic in class. Having them have options and letting them know that they have to be responsible for speaking on this topic in class promoted them and prompted them to elaborate. In this student's artifact, she chose option 3, which is, in your opinion, is All American Boys an anti-cop book, a book that encourages the youth to hate or fear the police. Explain why or why not. So here is her response, and it is a detailed response. Not only does she answer the question, but she explains why. She also references details inside the text that takes place to make it connect. And then the second option she chose was option 6. Provide the song title of a song that can express Quinn's feelings for standing up for what's right versus loyalty for a friend. Explain how this song relates to Quinn's struggle. Okay, so here is her response, and it's detailed, it's laid out. She explains the title, the artist of that song, and the reason why she chose it. Not only did she choose the reason, but she also references in the book. In the book, Quinn's loyalty belonged to justice, proper justice. The song Loyalty represents the loyalty that Quinn tried to show. I like that. It all makes sense. My favorite protocol that we used this semester was the consultancy protocol. Allowing group members to act as the consultant, giving expert advice helped shape my instruction. It also led my reflection on the lesson. Okay? As a strength, I noticed in my practice, Using the results to build strategies to improve learning gaps. That is a big strength of mine, and that is something that I would have never discovered if I did not take this course. Also, I did understand that a growing part of my practice would be to be proactive in my practice to avoid learning gaps, making the connections from the start. Okay, so overall, the semester was really great. I learned so much.